Welcome to EntreProgrammers Podcast, the podcast for developerneurs, with your hosts, Josh Earl, Derick Bailey, and John Sonmez, the podcast where you get to be a fly on the wall listening to real conversations of three developers trying to tackle the challenges they face as entrepreneurs.
The EntreProgrammers Podcast is brought to you by SignalLeaf.com. It's not just the best audio host for your podcast, it's also the only podcast host that we'll talk about during the EntreProgrammers Podcast, because SignalLeaf is one of the services that I'm building and often used as fodder for information that we talk about during the EntreProgrammers Podcast. So check it out at SignalLeaf.com. It's podcast hosting without the headaches.
We are live on the air.
So we are live here from the first world problems of John Sonmez with the tropical sounds in the background.
Yeah, John has some kind of birds chanting in the background there.
Yeah. I don't know what it is.
Nice. I need to open my window.
I don't want to open my window.
Oh gosh,
Texas.
Oh gosh, yeah. We have had the most mild summer up here. Like in Pennsylvania, it's been like it hasn't cracked 90 all year, which
it's been unseasonably mild here as well. We've only had a handful of days, maybe 10 days that are over 100, but we've had a lot of days in the 80s and low 90s. Which is very unusual for July and August.
Yeah, August here has felt more like May, actually.
Yeah.
Do you have humidity there, Derick? Oh,
a lot. It's usually boiled off by now. It's usually the humidity ends up gone around August, but it's really bad right now. It's actually causing a lot of allergy problems for my family.
Pittsburgh is usually really humid. I mean, it's nothing like Florida, I'm sure, but
right.
It's usually, I mean, it's actually been really humid all summer too. It's been like 80-90% humidity, so it's not. I mean, the temperatures have been mild, but definitely we get the humidity up here too.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. So what else is going on?
Covered the weather.
Yeah, we got the weather.
Oh man.
You know.
I wrapped up my coaching this week with John McIntyre, so that's been really helpful. Really glad I did that. He showed me. I got to see so he's kind of in the process of setting a lot of stuff up on his side. So he's like in some ways there's only a few weeks ahead of me in some areas. So I got to see a lot of what he's doing, and he showed me, how he's got his tracking set up. This week we went over tracking, and my head was ready to explode afterwards. He showed, so I've never used mixpanel before, but he showed me his setup in mixpanel, and it is pretty freaking awesome. You can see, you get just a really nice graphical view of your whole funnel. And it's very controlled because you only send. You have to write the JavaScript yourself, to send events.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, Derick, it's kind of like what you're doing with SignalLeaf, where you've got specific events coded in that,
right.
Versus Google Analytics, which is just collecting everything and you never know where anything is going.
Right.
With this, it's you name the events and you send them yourself. So you can set, I have a funnel. I have it set up now where I can see exactly how many people are dropping off between my homepage, submitting the form to sign up for my email list, and then confirming.
Right.
So I can see that, I can see, and actually the drop-off rate, because Drip is double opt-in. Before I was using single opt-in. I kind of missed the single opt-in because I think only about 60% of people are actually making it through. So I'm losing about 40% drop-off due to the double opt-in.
Right.
It's unfortunate. Some of those people, I'm sure, want to get my newsletter, but they'll never hear from me because they didn't confirm. But yeah, I'm actually looking at the report now. Let's see what it's coming up to.
Do you have in that report? Do you have their email addresses?
I do have their email addresses in Drip because I do get Drip does show you the email addresses, and Yeah, actually, so it's about 60%. 66% of people confirm. So I lose
Right.
about 34%, I think, if my math is right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting with double opt-in because on the one hand, it's people are more likely to stay engaged if they double opt-in, but on the other hand, when I did my ebook giveaway a couple weeks ago, I had about 1,000 people that did not confirm their entry into the giveaway, and within that 1,000 people, there were a very large number of people that are already on my mailing list.
Right.
Names that I recognize from interacting with them via email, via Twitter. I mean, these are people that clearly wanted to be in the giveaway. They're already on my mailing lists. They didn't get the double opt-in. They didn't click it. They didn't confirm it. Whatever it was.
Yeah.
So it's
I
kind
think
of a
it
double-edged
gets
sword.
lost. I do inbox zero, so for me, like any email that I get gets attention immediately.
Right.
So,
676 unread right now.
Yeah, I know. Like a lot of people, I worked with people at my last job, and I walked over to this girl's desk one day, and she had 10,000 unread emails in her inbox.
Yeah, and these are only the ones that I haven't filtered into other places.
Nice.
Like I've got. Let me look real quick. I've got in my GitHub filter, I have. It's missing. Where'd it go? I don't know. A couple hundred.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry. 1,200 notifications from GitHub.
That does fit the definition of a couple hundred.
I have 175 on our mailing list that I have unread.
Oh wow.
500 from Google Plus. I mean, it's out of hand. It's ridiculous. It's to the point where it doesn't even matter if I'm reading all of them or not. Every now and then I'll go through my inbox and then I'll just start deleting things because it's useless for me to keep them around.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, email is a big problem.
I think I've managed to unsubscribe from most stuff that I don't want.
Right.
So pretty much the stuff that comes in, I know is going to be. I have a few things that I filter, but for the most part, everything hits my inbox, and I deal with it.
I just get too much email. These are things that I legitimately don't want to unsubscribe from, but it's just overwhelming because for the 6 or 8 weekly emails that I get for various tech things and marketing things, I see the email, I scan it real quick, and if it's something that I want to look at later, I mark it as unread, and then I forget about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the mark is unread is deadly.
Yes.
So that's been interesting. So I think I'm officially switched over to Drip now. It was hilarious that the email from MailChimp came out about like, oh, we have added all this automation features, and I emailed Rob from Drip and said, man, if this had come out like 3 months ago, I might have stuck with MailChimp. But I think I'm comfortable. I think I'm comfortable with Drip. There've only been a couple of things where I was like, oh man, really? And I emailed support. Like one of them was the broadcast unsubscribe.
Yeah.
Like there's no way for people to unsubscribe from broadcasts right now, which is something they know and they're working on right now, supposedly as we speak. But other than that, I've been very happy with it. They set up my 30-day challenge, which I've been wanting to set this up for the longest time. My 30-day challenge from Desk Hacks.
Mm-hmm.
That I did a long time ago. I've been wanting to get that working again as an email autoresponder, and MailChimp couldn't do it. Like MailChimp could not manage to say, okay, I want the first email to go out on a Monday only.
Right.
And then, then I want the emails to go out every weekday after that. Impossible in MailChimp to control the day of the week and prevent it from going out early.
Right.
So, but yeah, Drip. I had to hack it a little bit with Drip. I had to. What did I do? I ended up making 2 campaigns, and because I couldn't control the exact day, so I ended up cobbling it together with 2 campaigns. But it's flexible enough that you can do stuff like that. So.
Right.
Yep. Yeah. So I've got I got all my subscribers imported. So from the contest, it's looking like right now I have about 73,000 in Drip. those are all people who have opened at least one email from me from the contest, and about 10,000 from my old list.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like you're on the Forest Moon of Endor, John.
There's going to be
I'm
an
expecting
Ewok walking in the
Ewok to just
background.
take him out at any
The
moment.
big old ATX
So 73,000. And then I still have about 75,000 in MailChimp, and I sent them an email yesterday that I told you guys got a laughable. So far it's up to like a 4% open rate, which is better than I thought.
I'm refreshing Google Analytics right now.
Okay, yeah,
So
you probably
from that email, 73,000 people, I got 5 people subscribed to my
Right.
mail.
That's after we got the goals set up. There were probably few before that.
Yeah, there probably were a few.
Yeah, because
so
that was
maybe-
after the
maybe
bulk
it
of the
was
clips.
10.
Yeah. So yeah, 10. It definitely list quality definitely matters.
Yes, it does.
But yeah, so then the click rate on that is under 1%. So it's definitely. But I think I will salvage. I think I'm going to be able to pull in another 3,000 or 4,000 email addresses from doing that. So that's worth.
Right.
I thought it's going to cost me another $300 to pay MailChimp for another month to hold that list for me. But I was like, it's probably worth it. I mean, would I pay $300 for 3,000 email addresses? Yes.
Yep.
I would. So, yep.
Yeah,
So
I think I paid close to $300 total for my giveaway contest for the 1,200 people that I got imported into my list from that. That was well worth it.
Nice.
And they aren't just a bunch of give me free, I'm going to call you scammer spammer people either. They actually seem to be legitimately interested. I had a really good open. I had like a 65% open rate on the announcement email for who the winner was.
Good.
So there was a huge engagement there. And since then, I've only had about 150 people, maybe closer to 200 people, unsubscribe.
Nice.
So out of the 1,200 that I imported, I've kept about 1,000 of them.
Nice. That's great. Yeah. It seems like Noah Kagan actually wrote a good blog post I saw a couple days ago. It seems like the people that are doing these giveaways, he's saying that you can expect to grow your list 25 to 40%.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually seeing it's the people that I've talked to, it's more like 100%.
It's about 50% for me.
It was about 50. Okay.
Yeah.
Because Craig, I don't know how to say his last name. I think it's
Mikichi.
Yeah. He emailed. We've been emailing about his giveaway that he's done, and he's doing another JavaScript giveaway. And
I've
more than doubled
his for him a few times.
He more than doubled his list from that. Right. So he had a few hundred people on there. So.
Yeah, I've retweeted his giveaway a few times to help him get a little boost.
Yeah, so we'll see how mine ends up panning out. I'm doing that email on Tuesday, Derick.
That one I'm hoping is going to do well.
Yeah, I'm thinking. So I wouldn't worry. I think I emailed you. I wouldn't worry about getting crushed, but I think you'll probably get several hundred signups from that easily. So.
Yeah, because I've had top link article in JS Weekly or Node Weekly or whatever a few times, and that goes out to 60 or 70,000 people, and I've never really had a problem with the traffic from that. So
okay, cool.
Hopefully it'll work out well, and maybe I'll double my list again.
I don't think it'll be that. I don't think it'll be that much.
Probably. You could just double it 20 times or so.
That's right. Just double it every couple of days.
Then you'll have everyone in the world, probably.
Right.
I think maybe about 20 would do it, yeah.
Nice. Well, yeah, so I'm pretty happy with Drip. I've been putting together a wish list that I'm going to send to Rob at some point of all the things that little things that bug me or things I wish were different.
Can you add email from an RSS feed to that?
I will do that right now, actually.
That's one thing that's keeping me on MailChimp right now.
Okay.
Because I send out my weekly blog post emails from MailChimp, and I know there are alternatives to it. I could, like with FeedBlitz, I could let people subscribe to my blog with the RSS email,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't want to do it that way. I want people on my mailing list to
Right.
get my blog posts. I don't want individual people to subscribe to my blog through email.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. So yeah, I just added that to the list. So yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing. I want to see how fast they iterate. Like, it was funny. I actually was working in the email editor yesterday, and it changed. I refreshed the page. Did you know? Have you seen that? Or
Yeah.
they changed it. They added like a more rich text formatting or something.
Right.
They changed the control they were using, and I was like, "Whoa, this is all different."
Yeah,
So
it's a little bit easier to use.
Yep. Yeah. So far, I'm liking it a lot, though.
Yeah, I've seen a number of people talking about leaving Infusionsoft for Drip, which I
Wow,
find
that's
really interesting.
yeah. Well, Infusionsoft, I could see that. I guess if you're not using a lot of the power of it, because it is so expensive.
Right.
Especially once your list gets to a decent size. If you have more than a couple thousand people on the list, it starts to be thousands of dollars, I think.
Right.
So Entreport was going to be about 900, and this so far the only thing Entreport has that this doesn't have is kind of the sales like Entreport let you set up sales pages and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I looked at what they had, and I wasn't awesome. It wasn't as awesome as I was hoping it was going to be. So I'm thinking I can make do with Drip and
right.
Find my own shopping cart for $50 a month or something that I like. That
Yeah, I'm still debating if I want to move more stuff over to Drip or if I want to move my existing campaigns, my existing email courses over to MailChimp.
Yeah, you're stuck in that kind of uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's the inability to unsubscribe from broadcasts, the lack of RSS to email. I mean, there's a couple of things in Drip that are keeping me away from it. And since MailChimp added the automation features, I don't think MailChimp's automation is quite as robust as Drip's right now.
Yeah.
But I don't really use any of Drip's automation right now either. I've been thinking about it. It's something
Right.
I want to do, but I'm kind of don't know.
Yeah, I'm using it. Well, what I'm going to be doing initially right now is I'm going to be tagging people on my list with different interests. So
Right.
email that's going out on Tuesday has a bunch of JavaScript links in it. So I've tagged all of those as JavaScript. So trying to figure out, I'm going to try to tag some of the major interest groups that I know I have in my audience, and a few like topical type of things like keyboard shortcuts, you know. And then I can send out. I think I'm going to probably do some surveys based off of that to those subgroups, find out a little bit more about what they want to hear about.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty useful. I've worked around the broadcast issue for now by creating this was a bit of a hack, but it works. So I created a campaign that is like just called the Sublime Text Newsletter, and you subscribe. You go into a welcome campaign, which just sends you one email, and then you get moved as soon as that email goes out. You get moved to this other campaign, and then people can unsubscribe from that newsletter campaign.
Right.
And then when they roll out the feature that lets you actually unsubscribe from broadcasts, I'll just have support delete everybody or flag everybody.
Right.
So I know, so I don't accidentally send them anything.
Right.
So yeah, that's been the main thing. That's been a bit more of a hassle than I thought it was going to be to get all that. I spent most of the day on Saturday working on it, and then getting my all my figuring out how to send broadcasts and stuff this week, and so that's been and then I need to get from there. I have a bunch of to-do items from coming out of my coaching with John, but I think one of the biggest realizations I came away with from that was my biggest problem actually I think is my product, because I don't have a lot of confidence. Like I don't have a lot of confidence that the product solves the right problem. And that makes it really hard to sell convincingly. I think it's a decent product and it's useful, but it doesn't really solve any one particular problem. And so I've really that hesitation comes through in everything that I do.
Right.
And John kept telling, he was looking at my emails and stuff. He's like, "You're selling off the back foot. Like, you're not confident here." And I was like, "Yep." That's why. So, yeah. So I'm hoping that with some surveys and doing a little bit more study on my audience, that I can come up with some easy to create products that I will feel a lot more comfortable or confident promoting.
Right.
So I've got a couple videos type of things in the works that I think will be really, really good, that people will like. So yeah, so that's been my week pretty much, just heads down working on that stuff.
What about John? Must be rough out there in Maui.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't been doing too much.
Just unfriending people on Facebook.
Right.
Just that, yeah. Just unfriending people who have drama. If you have any kind of problems in your life, I just unfriend you because I don't want to deal with your problem.
You're harshing my buzz, man. Get out of
here. Yeah, we did this huge drive on called the Road to Hana, like this drive up this mountain pass in Maui that was kind of crazy all day. It was like an all day drive this week. But the fun part was the rental car I got, the brakes are messed up, so there's no brake pads.
The fun part, yes.
Yeah, it was it basically had no brake pads, so it was just squealing metal against metal the whole time. And I'm like, I don't know if the brakes are going to fail on this mountain or not. So
they're going to fuse together is what they're going to do. They're going to lock your car in one place and you won't be able to drive.
Oh, okay. Well, that didn't happen, so I survived it, but it was
wow.
pretty crazy. But on the sales have pretty much dropped off completely. I don't think I've made a sale in 5 days.
I've lost far more customers than I've gained in Watch Me Code in the last month.
Yeah,
I'm down like 20 customers.
I don't know if it's a time of year, or what exactly, or if it. I mean, I haven't been doing any real advertising at this
right.
point.
Yeah.
Been very aggressive. So
I was talking with Rob Connery about some other things earlier this week, and I asked him, in your experience with TechPub, is this a downtime of the year? And he was like, oh yeah, absolutely it is. He said that he'd tried a number of things over the years, sales and promotions and advertising, and invariably July and August were always down.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping, myself that September and October will start picking up again, but.
Yeah, and it makes sense. I mean, that's when you get the credit card bill from the summer vacation, right?
Right.
The beginning of August, and so I mean, I'm not too worried about it. I figure a sale will be coming up in a few months, and then figure that out. But
right.
The other thing, what else has been going on? Oh yeah, I've been pissing people off with blog posts, but
what's new there, right?
Which one?
Yeah.
Which ones in particular?
Well, the one that I hate astronomers. That one.
Oh
just,
yeah.
People just hated that. It was just so. It's disheartening that people had such adverse reactions to that, because in that post I didn't really take a huge. I didn't say like, oh, all of science is wrong, and in all this. I just said basically like, don't take for granted just because someone tells you something. Like, research it, like discover it for yourself. Like, not everything. Sometimes scientists make up answers to questions that they have to fit their theories, and you should be thinking for yourself and figuring things out. But people are just like, oh my gosh, you're against science, which it's kind of disturbing that somebody. I actually lost a lot of subscribers to my mailing list from it, which. It's sort of like a good riddance to me, because I'm like, gosh, if you can't think with your own brain, like then I'm just I'm shocked that you live on this planet. But,
wow, what kind of unsubscribes did you get?
Oh, I got like unsubscribes with like two paragraphs worth of I didn't
Really?
expect this from you, John. I thought that you would be a reasonable person and not question like scientific principles that are well established.
Clearly, that person doesn't know anything about science because science is all about questioning everything.
Right. Well,
Always.
yeah, but that's kind of funny because I mean that was why like science today isn't so much about that anymore, right? It's more like accepting certain theories and
That's not science. That's what these idiots out there
Yeah.
are
Right.
claiming is science, and they have no idea what it actually is.
right. Yeah, I actually
Consensus
think
of
we're in it.
scientists does not necessarily equal science.
Right.
Right. Exactly. Yeah,
Which is
I
what
actually
you were
think
saying. Yeah.
right. Yeah, I think we're actually in a dark ages, sort of like when we look back at this time period historically, like with the academics invading science, like because like only one viewpoint is really supported, and and I think that we'll actually find that it's kind of a dark ages because there'll be breakthroughs, like we'll get past some things, but like there's a lot of limiting factors, and that's why I titled it I Hate Astronomers was mainly because of I've always hated the whole dark matter and dark energy thing in astronomy because it explains like a gap. It's like, okay, the reason why this must exist is because according to our calculations and models of the universe, 70% of the matter in the universe is missing. So it must be undetectable. And I'm like, that's such a, like, that might be true. It might be true.
It's
But
the best explanation that we have right now.
right, but it's preached as if it's absolutely 100% true,
Right.
like in news articles and scientific papers, and I'm like, it's actually like kind of it's a pretty crappy answer to that.
Yeah.
Like it's like it might be true, but like we can't just start taking things that might be true as fact and then building off of there. So anyway, long story short,
You kind of have to do that to an extent, though.
Well,
You build off of what you know with to the best of your knowledge, and when you find new evidence, you adjust what you've built.
it depends though. I mean, if you do that without acknowledging that you're building on something that's a shaky, like an approximation of an unknown, then what happens is no one ever questions the foundation, and then
True.
you end up going down a path that's really like that works for some strange unknown reason until it doesn't work, and then
Right.
there's no way back because you can't, and a totally wrong theory may hold up in a
Yeah.
large, but then there's gaps, and then you're stuck, and so
It's like guessing at an API, like you're coding against something that you think you understand. And basically like all of iOS for me, like
Yeah,
this is how it works, right? Okay, I'm going to assume this is how it works. And then it doesn't.
that's most of software development.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I spent the last week to 10 days dealing with memory leaks on iOS.
Yay!
Oh my
fun,
god.
yeah.
It was horrible. I spent the first 3 days actually not knowing what the heck was even going on because supposedly iOS never crashes without leaving a stack trace. Like it's impossible for it to crash. There's only two cases where it can crash, and I ruled both of those out. And if it crashes due to memory constraints, it's supposed to always leave a log entry that you can detect. Well, it wasn't. It was just killing the app with no warning. And basically, what I realized is that every screen that I've written, so we're using Xamarin, and I don't think this is Xamarin's fault necessarily. It's just how it works in iOS. Basically, every screen that I wrote in the entire app never went away. And
Right. Oh,
because
yeah.
like I have this theory. Okay, I might get hate for this, but I have this theory that I feel like iOS is kind of a toy framework. Like it's designed to build 4-screen apps. Most apps in the App Store are 4 screens and done.
Right.
And we're building an enterprise app, and just one little feature is 4 to 6 screens. So every feature that we build in this app is could be an entire app in and of itself.
Right.
Yeah.
So for me, every time I made a new screen in that, it would be 2 to 4 megs of memory, and it was only crashing on the iPod Touch, which has 500 megs of RAM instead of the 1 gig that my iPhone has. Oh my gosh. So I couldn't repro. QA was finding these errors. I couldn't repro them on my phone because my phone had twice as much memory. And basically, and the problem was the buttons in the navigation bar had event handlers on them. Those were holding on to references to the screen.
Always event handlers.
Never got collected. So yeah.
It's the same thing in JavaScript. The number one cause of memory leaks and zombie objects in JavaScript is event handlers, not properly unbinding them.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So, and it was really tough to detect because I actually stripped it down. Like my approach to debugging iOS is deleting code.
Yeah.
I just deleted. I had like literally an empty file with the navigation bar and a button on it. Well, guess what? That button was the problem. But
right.
I needed to be able to dismiss the screen. Like if I can't dismiss the screen, how do I know if it goes away?
Right.
So what I ended up doing was I realized that the one screen that was working properly was a screen that was dismissed programmatically. It would pop up, and then it was like a sync progress type of thing. It would pop up, go away, and then dispose would get called correctly on it. So I actually hacked out the button, and I just had the screen dismiss by itself on a timer, and boom, everything worked. Yeah. So, yeah. Oh my gosh, I was hating life though for about 5 days.
Amazing.
Take some notes as you're figuring out how to debug these things, because this would be definitely a good little tiny product.
Yep.
Because it's definitely difficult to debug.
Yeah, I went through something similar with WinJS, the Windows JavaScript library for Windows 8, because we were loading thousands of images off of the tablet PCs into an image viewer, and it was just eating up memory like crazy. And it came down to I can't remember the function call now, but there's a function that will load an object into memory, and that object by it's create object URL. It creates a URL that points to an in-memory object, and the in-memory object will not be released by the browser directly. You can do one of two things. You can tell it to release the object after the first time that URL is used, or manually release it yourself. And in our case, releasing after the first use was not even an option, because we were doing an image viewer. We want to be able to see the image all the time. So it took me like 2 weeks of using a memory profiler and debugging tools in Visual Studio to track down the cause of the problem and find the solution for it, and devise a way to be able to manually release each of those object URLs as we no longer needed them. It was insane.
Do you hate WinJS?
No,
like
actually,
a good JavaScript developer.
As a JavaScript developer, I really like WinJS. It's cool. The craziest thing. I never thought that it would be the case, but I really enjoyed working in it. The UI library was wonky, but there's a lot of really good UI libraries for WinJS now. But the underlying framework, WinJS itself, was really nice to work with. They did a lot of things right in that, including their promises implementation. The current promises A+ spec is actually based on the WinJS promises.
Oh, nice.
So I mean, they did a lot of things really well. It was really fun to work with. And surprisingly, the debugging tools in Visual Studio were top notch. I mean, it was unbelievable how easy it was to debug Windows 8 tablet apps with JavaScript and HTML in Visual Studio.
Nice. So I forget what I was going to ask. Sorry.
It's all right. Just rambling at this point.
Oh, is it performant? Is it? Is it nice?
Yeah, it was. We were modeling our app after a C++ app that did the exact same thing. So we modeled all of the behavior and everything. And there was a tiny bit of noticeable lag in a few places when we were loading up thousands of images from the hard drive, but we got it optimized pretty dang well, and it was there wasn't much noticeable difference. You wouldn't really notice the problem unless you were looking at the C++ and the JavaScript version side by side.
Yeah, I played a little bit with that when it first came out, when Windows 8 first came out, and since they were using basically, I don't think they're using native controls, but they're using, the UI kit looks exactly like the native controls.
The UI kit is actually 100% JavaScript and HTML.
Nice. Well, those are the only apps that I've ever used that I didn't immediately know. Oh, this is a desktop quote unquote app that is really just a browser. Those actually felt pretty decent.
Yep. And anyways,
cool.
And
so
that
John,
was like 2 years ago.
Wow.
I'm sure it's improved now.
Nice. So John, what else is your what else are you guys doing down there? If you don't mind sharing a little bit.
Not too much. We went just checking out a couple of beaches. We're kind of trying to keep it easy. We had a couple of friends stay, so we went and did that road to Hana, and then did with some beaches. But we're kind of trying to not pack too much stuff in every day, so you can actually relax. But
when you're there long enough, you should be able to spread it out pretty well.
Yeah, pretty much. So so that's it's been good. It's I'm starting to get a little bit antsy to get back to work now. I'm trying to plan what I'm.
You're what, 2 weeks into this now? That's about right.
Yeah. But just hang on to that feeling.
Exactly.
Think about stuff in your head, but just let that grow. Yeah. Let that desire to get back into it grow as much as you possibly can.
Exactly.
So that when you do get back, you'll be a madman cranking out some awesome stuff.
Yeah, that's the plan. I'm still doing the blog posts and emails, and I'm doing some YouTube videos too, since it's easy to answer questions that way. And then of course, email is always such a pain. There's so many emails.
But, I can always tell when you're batch processing. We usually get a dozen from you at once.
Yep. Yeah. John must be home for the night. He's just responded to 12 emails on our list.
Yeah. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm trying to think about what I'm gonna do when I do get back, and I'm not entirely sure at this point. So I've got a bunch of things I want to clean up and kind of organize, get the websites kind of fixed, and I think I'll probably be working on lots of cleanup stuff, trying to get email lists organized, get more of a structure to everything, and then and try to get a real sales funnel going for how to market yourself. So
probably paring back a little bit. I would imagine.
Yeah, definitely. It won't be doing quite as crazy of as much stuff, but trying to get it more focused. Oh, by the way, Derick, I don't know if you saw in your last on the EntreProgrammers 25 last episode, you've got an intern volunteer.
Oh, I did see that.
Yeah.
That I have to say, offers like that always make me wary. I appreciate it. I think it's awesome that somebody would volunteer, but I've been on both sides of that a few times, and I know how good it can be and how bad it can be, and I'm of the opinion at this point in my career that I'm going to be paying somebody to do this work if they really want to do the work. If somebody comes along and does something for me without me asking and says, "Here you go," thanks, so that's awesome. I really appreciate that. But for me to give somebody direction and ask them to do things and have them go, do things for me with a specific purpose in mind, that's something that I'm going to pay for so that I can say you're doing it wrong and do it faster and things like that.
This is coming out of last week.
Okay. Yeah. So
that's I don't know. Okay.
Sorry, I was going to continue off of conversations from last week. So the gist of it, if you didn't listen to it last week, Josh, is that I'm
there was
overwhelmed.
Too much drama about the video, so I just unfollowed you guys. And
No, it was episode 24 had all the drama with everybody complaining about how bad my audio quality was sitting inside
Oh
of
my
that
gosh.
coffee
Yeah.
shop. That was pretty amazing. But so last week, John had some really good advice for me to step back and try to plan from a high level where things are and what I need to be doing, what my priorities are. And so I spent a few hours on Monday trying to do that, and again on Wednesday a little bit of that as well. And I'm kind of heading in the right direction. I have an idea in my head about what my priorities are, but I'm having a really hard time stepping out of the details. And I was talking with my friend slash client while we were at lunch yesterday, and he has the same kind of problem that I do. In you can ask me to plan things at a high level, you can ask
Yeah.
me to work on things at a detail level, or you can ask me to fight fires as they crop up. But you can't ask me to do all three.
Right, exactly.
I can't step in between those three different roles very
Right.
easily.
Right.
And so right now I'm having a really hard time stepping out of the day-to-day details in order to understand and prioritize the big picture. I can kind of keep it in my head to an extent, but when I try to write it down, I don't know where to write it down. I don't know what to write down. I really don't know how to organize things from a high level perspective. I mean, I've spent 4 years as a developer manager in various companies, and so I did this kind of planning for other people. But even in that role, I always had a boss telling me what needed to be prioritized, and he would let
Right.
me organize things from there.
Right.
And so I always had somebody telling me what to do, and I'm really good at working within the constraints that somebody else gives me.
Right.
I'm not so good at creating the constraints myself, or
Right.
recognizing the constraints
Interesting.
myself.
Yeah, and our career kind of trains us that way too.
Right. And,
We're
Exactly.
technicians.
and what we're doing right now is exactly what I don't know how to do. What I need to do right now is exactly what I don't know how to do. I need to be able to put the details down for a day, for a week, for however long it takes, and figure out the high level things and where to go and why and when and be able to write that down somehow. And I'm at a loss. I don't know how to do it. So the one thing that I have done is I've started using OmniFocus again. I really like version 2 of OmniFocus now that I'm actually using some of its better features. And so I'm putting in tasks, repeating tasks, and individual tasks. Like I have so many things that have to be done every week. You know, there's
Right.
the email to go out, there's blog posts to go out, there's client work to do, there's pragmatic programmer screencast, there's watch me code stuff, so I'm trying to schedule all of these things into OmniFocus so that I can have my week planned out better than I have been doing, and I think that's helping a little bit. I was a lot less frustrated and depressed about things this week just from having spent a few hours on Monday setting up some of that stuff in OmniFocus. I sat down, looked at OmniFocus for the day and said, "Oh crap, I've got 5 things to do today.
Yeah.
I better get cranking on this stuff." And I felt productive. This was on Wednesday, and I
Right.
felt productive on Wednesday, having cranked through 3 out of 5 of those things and just checked off the other 2 because I needed to just get them off the list.
Mhm.
So it's helping, and I think I'm on the right path. But if anybody out there listening has any advice on how to step out of the details and be able to look at and organize and write down how to organize this stuff from a high level, I'm listening.
I think the problem is a lot of the high level stuff is really just what do you actually want?
Well, some of it is, but some of it is deadlines. I mean, I've got client work that has deadlines.
Right. Yeah.
So that's easy to prioritize. Okay,
Right.
I need to have this system online running able to go end to end, at least for the happy path, by the end of the year. So there's my number one
Right.
priority. That's
Right.
pretty easy for me. Number two priority is probably the Pragmatic Programmers screencasts. And I say that because I only have Watch Me Code material recorded through the end of September.
Mm-hmm.
So when the end of September comes around, if I don't have enough time to sit down and record and edit episodes for Watch Me Code, I'm in big trouble. Because I don't know when I'm going to have time to do that. So I'm kind of panicking about that. So that's making me think that the Pragmatic Programmer Backbone screencasts are priority number 2, because I need to get those off my plate so that I can get back to everything else that I have to do. What it really comes down to is I have too many things to do every day and every week, and I need to get rid of some of them. And Signal Leaf continues to be my whipping boy when it comes to ignoring things. I'm basically not doing anything on Signal Leaf at this point in time, and it's driving me nuts, because that's the thing that I really want to be working on right now.
Yeah.
But it's the thing that I feel like I shouldn't be working on, because everything else seems to be higher priority.
Do you have any, day to day, are you getting your own stuff done, or are you always just dealing with consulting mainly? Like, do you find that you're 4 out of 6 days, or 4 out of 7 days, you're spending most of the day on consulting and not getting any time to work on your own stuff?
No, I spend all day Tuesday and Thursday with my client doing the consulting contracting work, and then if I'm able to, and it seems to be more rare these days than it should be, I'll try to get in 2 or 3 hours on Wednesday, and if I can, an extra hour or 2 on Friday. But this week, Wednesday was all email. I mean, like, literally all I did all day was write email and blog posts on Wednesday. And then today, I haven't been able to do any real client work. My office, as you can see behind me, is a gigantic mess. And I've been trying to organize the stuff behind the monitor and camera so that I can clean up my desk.
I can't see it. Doesn't exist. So.
Which is going to let me. I'm so completely cluttered and unorganized on my desk, I can't find anything anymore. It's a giant mess, so I need to clean up this, and that involves a whole lot of. So I'm doing busy work that needs to be done that shouldn't have been left to this point, to the point that it is at this point. So it's. But no, I'm not spending all my time on consulting work. I'm not even spending enough time on consulting work.
Sounds like 15 to 20 hours, maybe.
Yeah, it's closer to 15 on an average week, and I'm not effectively managing my time elsewhere to be able to get in everything else that I need to do. It's like if I sliced up my time enough to be able to do work on all of these individual things, I would never get anything done because it wouldn't be enough time to do anything.
Right, and that's definitely the approach that you don't want to take, right? You don't want to. You want to chunk it into projects. I mean, it comes back to, like we were talking about last week, the biggest curse that you can give someone is freedom. Freedom is the worst possible thing for a human being. We want freedom, but we hate freedom because freedom is.
Yeah. I was thinking about that exact statement this week, and the more I think about it, the more I agree with you. I mean, I agreed with you last week, but I can see more and more evidence of that all the time, including all the way up to the financial problems and corporate problems that we have here in America, like with CEOs and executives that do everything they can to screw over the little guy and make profit at the cost of other people's jobs and lives and whatnot. I mean, you look at those situations from the perspective of people always want to be told what to do, and I can see it happening because at that level, at the highest of high levels, where people don't have anybody to really answer to except for the board of directors and the investors. Well, the board of directors and the investors are telling these executives profit, 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 profit. So with that being the only message that you're getting, of course you're going to end up doing awful things to other people, because that's what you're being told is the right thing to do, and that's what you're going to listen to, because people need structure. People need to be told what to do to a certain extent. There's always going to be something that you're answering to, some goal, some mission, some whatever it is that we look toward to measure how we are performing, because we need structure and constraints and rules and whatever else. And
Yeah.
being in a position as an entrepreneur, it's particularly frustrating at times to not have those kinds of rules and structures in place, which frankly makes me a little bit jealous, a lot of it jealous of you, Josh, having your mentor, McIntyre.
Yeah, John McIntyre.
John McIntyre, having him as a mentor to give you rules and constraints and things to do, because that's the kind of stuff that I need. But I don't have time for the things that I'm doing now, so there's certainly no way I could do any more like that. So it's
so the thing for me, the reason that I hired him was to help me eliminate things, actually,
right,
and figure out what the most important things were. And so I mean, finding somebody that might not be such a bad thing for you at this point, to find somebody, that was like to coach you a little bit,
right.
That could, it could end up being a lot less work than you think.
Yeah,
you need to do.
And if that person can convince me to drop some of the things that I'm doing,
right,
that would certainly help.
And I mean, even without that too, like you're right about the structure and the rules, and that's I think ultimately that's what you're going to have to set up for yourself.
Right.
It's like right. and I know this about myself, and I always set up ridiculous rules, like what people think are ridiculous rules. Like I've got my workouts on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, hitting the gym, running on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. Like those are rules for every week. Like that's kind of a baseline, and then it's like on a certain day, the blog post that goes out and it's written. That's a rule. Like, and then I don't know. I mean, those are kind of like repeating rules, but you also need to look and just again just step back and define exactly what you've got to be able to give yourself the orders and the structure. Mm-hmm. And that's, I mean, you just have to think of it like it's got to be done. Like I have to come up with the plan every day. If you don't know what you're doing the next day, there's a problem, mm-hmm. right? So that means that you have to plan. If you don't know what you're doing this current week, like if you get up on Monday and you don't know what the plan for this week is, then there's no point doing any action. You need to plan,
right?
And to some degree, that's. Those are the key. I think is the weekly and the daily, but it extends out to the monthly. And I don't know. I mean,
the further out you go, the less concrete the plan is.
Right.
But you still need to have some kind of plan out there.
Exactly. Right. And it's just like you said. It's like and I've experienced the same thing. Like if in a job position, if someone told me exactly what to do, right, I could operate at that level perfectly fine. Fix this bug, do this thing. Every day you tell me what to do, I will do it and do a superb job. And I'm happy doing that, right? But at the same time, if someone said, okay, now you take that role. Like you're going to tell this team what to do. You tell them what bugs to work on, assign everyone their tasks. Totally can do that. No problem, right? And then also even at the higher level, okay, now you be the kind of architect or visionary. Can you tell the managers that can handle any one of those roles and feel comfortable in it, but the minute that you make it totally up to me, then it all falls apart. So I think it's just something that you have to tackle and realize that it's a weakness that we all tend to have. That's that freedom paradox, is once we actually have the real freedom, but we can bring in the constraints, because you can just operate at that higher level and pretend like you are working for someone else, your company, and now you have the job of in one job at a time, set the vision, and then set the tasks, and then do the tasks. But you got to step out into each role and take it seriously as if it's not. You got to pretend like you don't have freedom, like you must do this.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've been doing a kind of a paper version of the John's weekly scheduling thing the last few weeks, and so when I get up every day now, usually it falls apart by about Thursday. I plan on Saturday, so I plan through the weekend, and then I plan my day on Saturday because that's my biggest day to work, and then all through the week, and usually by about Wednesday, Thursday, I'm kind of off the skids a little bit, but I've gotten enough done at that point through the first part of the week that it's not a problem. But yeah, like just like literally, because I know how much time I have to spend. I have basically, at most 2 hours every morning that I can spend on stuff, and so I have one or two tasks. That's all I can do in that time. It might be an article, like get an article published for SitePoint that takes about an hour and a half. Like this morning I was working on getting my tweets queued up for my Sublime stuff and getting that email queued up to send out. I pretty much know what my whole week's going to look like, and that has been really huge because I sit down in the morning. At least I know what I have to do first.
Right.
And I don't get, I might like breeze through my email real quick, archive stuff, whatever, and then I close that and I'm into whatever that task is. And at least that first, 2 hours or so is going to be really productive. And then whatever else doesn't get done, I can do little stuff, later on in the day, but like whatever else doesn't get done just doesn't get done. But like picking out the big items on Saturday for me has been really huge, and just like, at least knowing, okay, I'm going to get these 5 things done this week.
Right.
Here's an exercise that I do sometimes. It's have you ever heard of have you ever played the game The Sims?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So I sometimes think of my life as I'm a sim and I'm playing the game, and then I think, what would I optimally schedule my life as? Like if I didn't actually have to do the work, like with all of us would probably be like, oh, okay, let's make him run for an hour and a half, and he's going and we'd plan his diet out to be like, he's gonna eat this, and it's gonna be. We're not gonna follow it, but you could think about it, right? You'd probably put in your ideal fitness plan. Right, and what it is. Like, when you think about it from the Sims way, like when you say, oh, I don't know what to do to get in shape, right? Everyone says, but if you were actually planning it out for a Sim, like trying to optimize it to get them as, as lean and buff as possible, you would you would do it, right? But then the same thing goes then to the work level. It's like, oh yeah, let's have them work for 6 hours solid, like on this thing. And then, like we're going to and then we're going to spend half an hour or an hour a day upping this skill that I'm going to build, right? If you think of it like as a game and you have so many hours, and how could you optimally plan the Sims day to optimize, the productivity and then whatever else the goals were. Like, sometimes I just sit and think that I am the Sim, and then I'm planning it out for me. And then I know I'm not going to follow that exactly because it's too much work, it's too hard. I'm not going to actually do that, but it gives me an idea of what I actually, because I think what I found was there's this mental barrier in my head. It's like, here's what I want to do, like I want to accomplish, and here's what I'm willing to do.
Mm-hmm.
and because my willing to do is fighting against my want to do, I'm actually altering my want to do's in order to conform it. So I'm not being honest with myself. But when I do that Sims exercise, then I have an honest picture of what I actually want to do, and then I reel it back into what I'm willing to do, and then that kind of I'm heading in the right direction. I'm not doing the 100% like optimal schedule for my life, but I'm at least like on track. I'm no longer fighting against that where before I was making up stuff that wasn't true in order to justify why I'm not doing what I optimally want to do.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Derick, have you tried like just tracking all of your time for a week or two before?
I have, and it drives me crazy doing that.
Yeah, but have you did you go back and like analyze it, and were you able to gain any insights from it, or?
I mean, I've looked at the time in aggregate before, and I kind of just go, so what? I could tell you exactly why I spent all these hours on all these things, but okay. Now what? I mean, that's where I
Yeah.
invariably end up is, okay, I've got all this data, now what?
Buckets might work. Like, I mean, that's kind of one thing is to say, okay, I'm going to give myself certain, I can only spend X hours on this project per week, and then you have it you track it, and then you say, okay, I'm out of hours on what, and then the first week you'll be like, there won't be much direction to it, but the next week, if you know you only have 4 hours that you can spend on blog posts or Signal Leaf or whatever, however you divide the buckets, then you'll be forced that'll create a constraint that forces you to plan what to do in those 4 hours or 8 hours or whatever it is.
It's not a bad idea.
That's basically, I've had that I'm forced into that way of thinking.
Right. Yeah, I like that explanation of it though. Maybe I'll try that next week and see what happens. Because that would fit well with the way that I'm trying to schedule out things in OmniFocus as well. I can give specific time frames to start and stop a particular task.
Right. I mean, and I'm guilty of this too, but like, spending all day Wednesday on email, it's really easy to fall. That's like, for me, that's the easiest trap to fall into.
Yeah.
Is I do that occasionally on a Saturday. I'll want to kick myself. I'll sit down, and 2 hours later I'll look up and I was like, oh no.
Well, this wasn't just responding and sending emails. This was scheduling emails. This was writing blog posts.
Yeah.
It was my mailing list.
Content.
It was content generation. Most of it was content generation, including getting somebody on board to do a guest post on my mailing list for next week.
Okay, I would consider that blogging. Basically, yeah.
It's content generation for my blogs and the mailing list.
Yeah.
Which includes drawing my pretty pictures, which I have a lot of fun doing.
Yeah. That seems like it's probably therapeutic.
It is. I quite enjoy it.
They're awesome.
Yeah.
I've been enjoying them. I look forward to your blog post just to see what your doodles. So.
Yeah.
I'm hoping it creates enough uniqueness to keep people coming back.
They definitely pop in my my RSS feeds for sure. In Feedly though, they just jump right out.
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
But yeah.
I'll try out the time boxing of projects for the given week, which would be pretty easy to do because I can sit down and say, okay, I've got this many hours in the week, and I'm filling this many of those hours with client work, and here's the other things that I need to do. And I have an idea, a fairly good idea of how much time it takes to do any one of these individual things, like writing an email for the list or writing a blog post or whatever it is. I have a good idea how much time it takes to do those just because I've been doing that so much.
That's one thing that's been really helpful for me is with SitePoint, it's very it's pretty structured, and I'm doing the same sort of things over and over and over again, which typically, with programming, one thing that drives me nuts about programming is you never have any freaking clue how long anything's going to take. I had I got an assignment. There was a feature. Well, I wasn't wrapping text fields in iOS cells in tables, which everything in iOS basically is a table, and tables are a royal pain to work with in iOS. They're a kludgy hack in my opinion. But to wrap the text, we had this text that was just getting cut off because the cells wouldn't adjust in height. And on Android, the cells automatically adjust in height. Text wraps, everything's wonderful. With iOS, I hadn't done that before, so my boss was like, has to wrap. I was like, okay. And I gave him an estimate. I said 2 to 5 days. I have no idea just to wrap the text in this, and it came out to 3 days. It took me 3 days to wrap the text in the cell. And it's like, it drives me nuts to not be able to have any idea of how long something's going to take. But with SitePoint, I'm in a rhythm now, and I know exactly how long stuff's going to take. So I can plan out. I can plan out my week. I'm starting to be able to plan out my week a lot more effectively because I'm starting to see the patterns and and how things break out in terms of blocks of time.
Nice.
Yeah.
There's a very strange delay on your audio versus on your video versus audio, because you said I heard you say something blocks of time, and then 2 seconds later I saw your mouth say blocks of time.
Yeah, actually, you guys are all delayed up for me too.
It's John's fault being in Hawaii.
No, it's always been that way actually. So I don't know.
No, this is worse than it's ever been for me watching you, Josh. I mean, even John. I see John talking. It's just really choppy.
Yeah.
But I see Josh talking 2 seconds after he says something. Anyway, sorry.
That's all right.
Completely, totally irrelevant. But yeah,
yeah.
This is the subject of estimation and measuring time and all that. This is what I used to do back when I was a developer manager. Was this subject, so I could talk for hours on this, and I won't right now because I don't want to get started on it.
You just have to realize that the problem is not skills. You know how to organize this. You know how to do this. Like everything we're telling you, you already know. You can do this. You have this ability. The problem you're facing is the problem that all people face, which is that we say we want freedom, but most of us can't handle freedom. We have to learn how to handle freedom and how to earn our freedom. Because most people are designed. I mean, we're designed to be rule. If you walk by someone on the street and you say, "Hey, pick up that cup," they will do it. Like you can give orders to people, and they are automatic responses to obey. So that's just how we're conditioned. So you're fighting against the natural when you're wanting to have freedom. So that's a struggle. It's not a capacity and knowledge, ability. I'm not made for this type of thing. I have to overcome this like fear of having too many options open to me. So.
Well, that even applies to marketing. I mean, you hear all the time about how too many choices will drive customers away. You give somebody the iPod or the iPhone is the perfect example. Do you want the iPhone 5 or the iPhone 5S? Versus Android.
Or the iPhone 5C.
Yeah, or the iPhone 5C. So you have 3 choices now.
Yeah.
And then there's the Android. Do you want one of these 5 models from Samsung, from HTC, from Motorola, from LG, from, there's 1,000 options in the Android world, and Android is slowly taking over the marketplace, but in trying to help my dad figure out what phone he wanted, I mean, it was really, really, really difficult to explain all of the stupid little differences and nuances between all of the Android phones. And when it came down to it, it was really, really easy to explain the differences between all of the iPhones, and for him to pick an iPhone that met his budget and the constraints of the other things that he needed to do with it. It was easy because we didn't have that many choices.
Right.
Constraints are a good thing.
Yeah, that's why you have. Yeah. I'm all for imposing your own constraints on yourself in order to accomplish whatever you want to accomplish. But without them, everyone. Or if we leave things to our judgment, we always fail. So
yeah. All right, so I have some good things to work with for the coming week on that. And then there was 2 other things I wanted to mention. I guess one of them I already mentioned was the results of my giveaway and the emails that I've attained from that. I'm up to 3,880 subscribers right now, so I should probably be at close to 4,000, if not over 4,000 by the end of the month, which is pretty damn amazing considering a year ago I had 500.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and you started a new blog.
Yeah, and
you kind of started over, from scratch on that. So.
Right. And I'm getting, well, a lot of this traffic was from the from the giveaway, but the month of the last 30 days of traffic, I have 11,000 unique visitors on DerrickBailey.com.
Nice. Would you say a week or
for the last 30 days?
Last 30 days. Okay, nice.
Yeah, which when you look, 6 months ago, it was like 11. So I've definitely improved. I think I've been able to bring my existing audience from Los Techies over and grow a lot of a new audience as well, just with the blogging that I'm doing. And what was the other thing I wanted to mention? Oh, it was a blog post. So the firing the customer you love.
Oh yeah.
So it did get a fair amount of traffic. Let me look up the actual traffic. It did okay. 466 page views, 442 unique viewers. Very clearly, people read it. Average time on page was 6 minutes.
Nice.
So people are clearly reading it. But I had some interesting feedback other than the comments in the post itself. A couple of people commented to the effect of you're destroying Signal Leaf with that post. One person in particular said if a company ever did that to me, it would piss me off and I would say bad things about that company. And on the one hand, I agree. I've had things like that happen to me in the past, and it does piss me off. And on the other hand, these are mistakes that I've made in learning how to run a business and learning how to do all of these things. I mean, the whole post is basically a giant list of mistakes that I made, and that was kind of the purpose of writing the post. And so I'm waffling back and forth here. On the one hand, the whole point of the post was writing about the mistakes I'm making, but on the other hand, people are telling me that I'm destroying my own credibility, and so I'm going, okay.
Are they your customers?
Yeah. Do I care?
Yeah.
Would they ever be my customers? And one of them actually wanted to be, and I told him no. This was like 6 months ago. Because I knew how many downloads his podcast was getting, and I flat out said, look, you would cost me $10,000 a month. No.
Yeah.
So, but on the other hand, is that kind of blogging, is that kind of open honesty hurting me more than it's helping others, more than it's helping me? And I guess your question about are they my customers is really a good question to ask. Because if it's a potential customer reading that blog post, it could do some damage to their opinion of my service and my ability to serve them.
I don't know. That's what this podcast is, EntreProgrammers.
It's true.
Right? Like it answers that. That's how I'd answer this question, to say, like, if someone's listening to this podcast, which right, then they know that we're all like bumbling idiots, right? We're all trying to figure it. Like we are being open and honest and saying that we don't know what we're doing. We're trying to figure it out. We're making progress, and sometimes we make stupid mistakes, and so
sometimes meaning every frickin' day, constantly.
Right. So that's the thing, is like I think that ultimately, yes, some people would not want to buy from you because of that, but ultimately it's more beneficial to be open and honest. I'd rather buy from someone that I knew that they were, that I knew that they're being honest with their problems and what was going on than someone who is just like pretending like everything's okay, and then suddenly the ship is on fire and you're like, and it sinks, right?
Right.
So.
Yeah, and I don't know. For me, the way that you actually handled the situation was, you didn't just shut off their feed, which is what a bigger company would do.
And the same person that told me I'm destroying my company, one of the people actually had that happen on another hosting service.
Okay, well there you go.
They complained to me at one point, holy crap, I hate this service. Our credit card was declined because of whatever reason, and they shut the service down. They shut our podcast down for a week or something like that. And like, you know what? That would actually, I'd do the same thing to you. But yeah.
Well, I mean, you spent a lot of time working with this customer to help them and to transition them. And I mean, it's like, I mean, it probably was a little bit of hassle for them, but I imagine there was very little, if any, downtime for them. And
no, there was no downtime.
Yeah. So I mean, it's like
they transferred every last one of their subscribers within 2 days. You can. I looked at my charts to check their traffic. And there's day zero of when I released of when they entered the configuration to redirect all of their subscribers. They had like 5,000 downloads. Day one after that, they had like 1,200 downloads. Day two after that, 0. Every one of their subscribers was over to their new service within 2 days.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't really see it as damaging you. I mean, other than maybe your judgment being called into question for taking on a customer, but
I didn't know that. They didn't know that. I mean, when I talked to the guys, they were originally back in December and January. They were saying, yeah, we're hoping to get a couple of hundred downloads per episode. They get 15,000 per episode right now.
Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I don't really see it as being that. I don't really see it as being damaging, and I really doubt that there's much overlap, if any, between Signal Leaf and your Signal Leaf audience and your DerrickBailey.com audience. Like there's some, but if you're able to grow the service, that's going to diverge more and more. I'm sure, because you're going to be you're probably going to be getting traffic in a year or two from, mainly probably some sort of advertising. So versus your blog, I mean, that's not your main promotional strategy for Signal Leaf. I don't know that I would host something like that on signalleaf.com.
Yeah.
/blog.
Right.
But yeah, I don't think it hurts you.
Yeah, it's hard. You try to learn in daylight so that other people can learn from your mistakes, and you end up with people telling you you're an idiot for learning in public.
That's I mean, that's the reaction that you get a lot, right? So it's just I don't know. I mean, what can you do about that? That doesn't change the fact that
well, the thing you can do about it is never make mistakes. That's all you have to do. Just never make mistakes.
Only broadcast your successes.
That's right. No, don't even. You
have anything other than successes.
Exactly. Never have anything other than successes. It's not that you're only broadcasting them. It's that you don't have anything else to broadcast.
You can be transparent and perfect.
That's right.
Yes.
By the way, go ahead. Sorry, John.
Oh, I was going to say, for my contest, I was thinking about giving away a resume writing, to have someone's resume written professionally.
That's a good idea.
That would totally fit in with everything that you do with all your...
Yeah, and if you could throw in some kind of... You might want to even have... either that or some kind of coaching.
Right.
Some kind of coaching package would also be a good fit. But yeah, that's a great idea. Noah did a write-up about, I saw the other day about the giveaways, and I think I mentioned earlier, and he said that their least profitable giveaway was the MacBook. They did a MacBook Air giveaway, and that was the least profitable, and the second least profitable was iPads. So I feel vindicated on that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because it's a high ticket item to begin with, and then the interest level is just not. You're going to get such a broad range of people.
Yeah, you got to be real specific about the things you're giving away.
Yeah, their first giveaway was Dropbox for AppSumo, and that seems really broad, but it actually isn't. Like, it's a pretty good fit for what they do. Like, they basically sell discounts to SaaS apps and that sort of thing. And Dropbox at the time was more of a techie, it was a little bit more techie.
It still is.
Focused. Yeah.
It's for tech savvy people. Let's put it that way.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, John, that sounds like a really good plan. Craig's giveaway that he did, Derick, was for just general JavaScript. He was gonna do a framework grab bag. I think it was like Angular and Backbone and a couple of other ones, and I actually recommended that he try just a more general JavaScript.
He's got a mix of both. There's an Angular and a Backbone and some general JavaScript in there. So he's kind of hedging it in both ways. I think his package actually looks really good. I thought he did a pretty good job of picking out stuff.
Yeah, well, and it's actually a great fit for his product too, which is his product is basically a package that is an overview of all the frameworks.
Right.
So, cool. Yeah, I'm going to be publishing. One of my priorities for this weekend is to try to get my epic blog posts finally published, my giveaways blog posts. So I wrote that up. It's currently around 5,000 words, and I need to go through and clean it up a little bit and put in the screenshots, just get the thing shipped, and then I'm going to try to spend some time promoting it too. So I've got a call to action to join my mailing list and get the giveaway, the discount for that. So
nice.
Yep, still have that discount code. I've sold a couple copies of it already. So
cool. Awesome.
Very nice.
Yep. So yeah, I think for this week we should start doing commitments again. But
we keep saying that and then we never do.
Well, let's try. I see. My thing is I always plan mine on Saturday.
Right.
For the week. So I don't know on Friday. I don't really have it. I'm like desperately trying to close out the week, but
so your commitment is to plan your week on Saturday.
Yeah, well, that's the first thing I do every Saturday. I spend 2 Pomodoros on planning. So usually it ends up being 1.5 Pomodoros, and then I use the rest of the time to answer email or do little 2-minute type tasks. But yeah, so I definitely want to get a blog post done on Saturday, and then I think my other focus for the week is going to be setting up all this tracking, which I thought was. Which I got the one thing set up to track my funnel from my email list from my homepage, but I need to get my sales page set up. And I was so excited about this when he showed it to me because it really. So you know how in the 80/20 book Perry Marshall talks about taking your sales funnel and breaking it up into pieces. Well, and then you can fix the pieces, right? Well, with mixpanel, I'll have to send you guys a screenshot. You actually see it's so stupid simple the way they graph it. It's like bars, and then there's an arrow between the bars with a percentage on it. It's like, okay, nice. You had. Well, I'm looking at my homepage thing now. 276 people hit my homepage. 10.87% went to the confirm your email page, and then 20 of those actually went to the thank you page. And so I can see the percentages. 10.87% clicked the subscribe button basically. Right. And then 67% clicked the, got to the thank you page and actually subscribed. And then they give you the overall percentage. So 7.25% of people who hit my home page end up on my email list. And so now I can see, okay, well, I'm getting a 20% or I'm getting a 33% drop off between the confirm page and the thank you page. Well, maybe I can tweak the email that goes out and I can tweak the confirm page. Like, Derek Halpern has a big stop, with his hand. He's got this photo of him with his hand up, and he's like, it's like, go to your email inbox right now and confirm your email, because if you don't, you're never going to do it.
Right.
And Ramit Sethi has a countdown timer, because if you don't do it within 5 minutes, chances are you'll never do it. So he puts a countdown timer from 5 minutes.
Nice.
So there's things you can do to try to get people to take that action immediately. So that's one piece of my funnel that I could fix later. I probably won't worry about that right now, but I need to get my DPD sales funnel set up so I can see how many people hit the sales page, then go to the shopping cart page, then go to the checkout. Like I'll actually finally have those numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And that will be huge.
Yes.
That's what we've struggled with, and it's possible to do in Google Analytics there's a funnel feature in there, but of course, like everything in Google Analytics, it's pretty complicated.
Yeah, I'm actually looking at it right now with my tracking the signups for the email courses, and
well, that's goals, but there's actually a visualization, like a funnel visualization tool in there.
Yeah,
too.
it's part of your goals.
Yeah.
So you set up goals, and then you set up funnels toward your goals.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm looking at that right now, and it's confusing.
Right. Yeah.
It's hard to see. It's hard to know exactly. It's just.
Yeah. This is the opposite of confusing.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think it'll be a little tricky to get all the events set up that I need to have and everything. DPD is probably going to be the bane of my existence again. They're my candidate for an anti-sponsor for the week. I just every time I have to do anything with DPD, they're like, and it just drives me nuts because they're like, they seem like they don't care. Like they're like, well, we don't support Google. Like Google Analytics, they have on their site like, we don't really support this. Good luck.
Yeah.
What? So yeah, but I'm gonna get that set up this week, and then once I have that, I can really start doing I can start A/B testing my sales page. But once I get the tracking set up, I think I'm gonna shift focus to product creation, like for the next block of time.
Yeah. So back to the idea of commitments for the week. My big commitment, I think, is going to be trying out the time constraints, like you guys were suggesting. So I'm gonna sit down. I don't know if I'm gonna have time this weekend because we got this stupid amount of things to do this weekend. But I'm gonna either hopefully this weekend or maybe Monday look at the number of hours in my week and just time box things.
Mm-hmm.
Look at what my priorities are and make sure I get those priorities scheduled first, and then do my best to stick to those boxes.
Do you want to try to keep all of your balls moving forward? Like, because it's like if you haven't done anything for Signal Leaf and it's really bothering you, you should have a block of hours every week for that.
Yeah, I do. I want to keep everything moving forward, but I also realize that I'm damaging myself by doing that and destroying my own effectiveness because anybody that knows anything about multitasking will tell you it's a really bad idea to multitask. The more things you have going on, the less effective you are at all of them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I want to drop some things. I want to get rid of some things. I can do some. So okay, here's what I'm gonna do. I have all of my episodes for Watch Me Code edited through the end of September, and for the first week of October as well. So October 2nd will be my last episode, I think it is, that I have edited. I'll block out time this week to post everything until that point in time, so I don't have to think about it at all.
Exactly.
Until October 2nd.
Yeah.
Until the point in time at which I freak out because I don't have anything for next week.
Plus, you'll be batch processing, which will make it faster overall.
Right. Yeah. I'm gonna schedule that in this week. I'm going to also try and schedule 4 weeks worth of weekly emails. If I can do both of those things this coming week, we'll make it 5 weeks to include next week. That'll get me through August and most of September and have a lot more time available for code on other things, on the Pragmatic Programmer screencasts and Signal Leaf. Signal Leaf is definitely my bottom priority right now, and I hate that. I want that to be a higher priority.
I think it was one thing that jumped out to me earlier when you were saying what your priorities were. The two highest priorities were both they were just things that had deadlines,
Yes.
external deadlines, and
Right.
so
That's what makes them higher priority.
Well, but see, I would argue that you should make your stuff a higher priority, and the other, like, if you at least work on your stuff first, the other stuff you're gonna do the other stuff. Like, you don't need any extra motivation to do
doing
that,
it. Doing it first, second, or third is not what I mean by priority.
Yeah.
What I mean by priority is the amount of time that I spend during the week.
Right.
Okay.
Things that I absolutely will do, whether or not I do anything else.
Yep, that makes sense. Yeah, for me, SitePoint is kind of that was one of those.
Yeah. So the client work, I mean, there's no question I'm going to do the client work because I have to have this project online. I'm replacing a very important system on a mainframe with Node.js.
Right.
So
What could go wrong?
Yeah, what could go wrong? And this is something that absolutely has to be done by the end of the year, because at the end of this year, they're yanking the power cord out of that mainframe and they're never turning it on again. So if it's not done, I'm in trouble. So I mean, I'm going to work on the client work at least 2 days a week until the end of this year, and probably more than that, especially as I get closer to that deadline. So priority for me is not, do this first, second, and third. It's how many hours a week am I spending on this.
Right. Makes sense.
But I'm gonna block my time up, cut it up into chunks based on the available hours that I know I'll have, and try to prioritize getting WatchMe codes set up so that I don't have to think about it again until the end of September, which will include scheduling tweets. And then from there, see what I can do. It's unlikely that I'll be able to do anything on Signal Leaf, but that is what it is. Eventually, something's going to have to drop.
Yeah, one thing that I always try to do is just to have one big project too. Like, I mean, that's one thing.
Yeah, I've got too many big projects. I've got 4 big projects.
Well, what I mean is you can work on one at a time. Like,
Right.
Like just shift into whatever. If you've got 4 big projects, rotate and work on one of them for 2 months and one of them for 2 months, and
Right.
then you're not trying to work on. Then also you don't feel guilty about leaving. Not making. You can't make forward progress on every single front.
Right.
You have to pick a couple of small fronts to make forward progress on, and one big one.
There was a really good Fizzle show a while back where they talked about doing, like, should you spend time on marketing your product or building your product? And they said, well, do sprints. Spend a week marketing it and 2 weeks building it.
Yeah.
Was the ratio they were suggesting.
Right.
Which is something I've always struggled with. Is like I tend to. I always err on the marketing side because that's fun for me.
Yeah, I always err on the building side because I don't know how to market anything.
But cool. All right. Well, that sounds like a good plan.
Any priorities and commitments from John?
Actually, I mean, I do have to get my blog posts out for Monday, and then newsletter, and publish a couple of YouTube videos. But
so here's your commitments then. Let me make your commitments for you. Only do the absolute bare minimum to keep your things afloat, and nothing more.
That's basically
enjoy your second commitment is enjoy your vacation.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're doing all your email and all your writing and everything on the Surface then?
Yeah, pretty much.
That's because when John was working in Trackabout, we had a DevCon. That's the only time I've actually met John. We get this once a year get together, and he had his MacBook Air, his 11-inch MacBook Air.
Right.
He was hunched over it, this giant, over this tiny little computer. It was hysterical. So I'm picturing it's pretty much the same scenario now. So
pretty much, yeah.
Now I'm picturing the Incredible Hulk.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Looking at like a tiny little laptop.
He's actually having to hold pencils to type, because the keys are so tiny compared to his fingers.
Yeah, it's so far well, actually, right now my mouse is like locked up, so.
Awesome.
I think I've got hardware problems with the Surface, so when I get back, I'm gonna have to take it to the Microsoft Store and and see. But so far, I don't know. Like I said, I've gotten mixed reviews. I like it. It's definitely better than the Surface Pro 2 was. That was unusable. This is pretty usable. Not 100% yet sold on it. Like, I'm not sure if I would rather have just had a laptop at this point. But the big thing I think that makes the difference is that there's really no Windows Store apps that would make it useful as a tablet. So that's the one kind of clincher. It's like when I think about it, if it were just a laptop, right, but had the same kind of profile and features, or, like as far as the power, then would it be more useful? And I'm kind of tempted to say yes, because I'm trying to think, well, what really about the Surface, is unique? It's the fact that it becomes a tablet, and that it's so light, and that is that the advantage of that is when you have tablet apps. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. I'll have a better idea by the time I leave here. So
cool. I'm probably going to buy one at some point here. So for me, the reading, I think the main thing I want it for is just reading. Like I read a lot on my phone actually.
Yeah.
And I definitely would read a fair amount on it, I think. There's decent PDF readers and stuff that are tablet friendly.
Yeah. I check Twitter on my phone. I read on my Kindle, and I draw pretty pictures on my iPad.
That's too many things to charge, man. I don't want to have to charge.
It actually kind of drives me nuts.
Yeah.
But I really like each one of those devices for that purpose, though.
Yeah.
I don't like reading on my iPad. I hate reading on my phone. I don't like doing Twitter and stuff on my iPad either. I do browse the web on my iPad. That's because it's actually a pretty nice experience. But I have specific things that I do and don't like doing on each device.
Yeah, I love my Paperwhite, but it was just like I could basically only read fiction on it. That was all it was useful for me.
That's all I do.
Have a lot of time for that right now.
I read sci-fi novels. I force myself to do it almost every day. I constantly say I want to sit down and work. Nope, I'm going to read because I need to get my brain out of here.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right, so should we wrap it up, I think?
I think we can.
I gotta head to the gym here, so.
All right, yo.
Lift some pineapples.
Yeah.
Whatever they have down there. I'm picturing like large blocks of coconuts, all strung together.
Go bench press a coral reef.
All right, guys.
All right, guys. Next week. Yeah.
Bye.
Wanna start a business, but you just know how to code. Listen to John, Josh, and Derick as we figure it out. We are the EntreProgrammers, and we'll teach you straight up to